I know I said I was gonna change spaces, but here I am again. That's me. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube art channel. I'm back with one more video. Today, while I'm still an art student, I will be looking at this article by BuzzFeed about struggles that art students face. I have to be quick recording this video because they're doing construction work right next to my window. So without further ado, let's do this. The article is called 23 Undeniable Struggles Only Art Students Will Understand. I'm an art student. Will I understand? I'll be judging these by saying they're true, false, or true-ish, in my opinion.
That's my opinion!
So the first one says, most people underestimate the difficulty of art classes, so you constantly defend your major or your degree like a warrior. This is 100% true. I've had so many people saying that maybe it's easy if you look at it that way, if you just have to paint or you just have to draw. But when you have to do research and come up with concepts and all of that, it's not that easy. And even just drawing and painting, it takes time. It takes years and years of learning, of construction, so then you can deconstruct. I had to write a dissertation like everyone else in the world has to write a dissertation, and it wasn't easy because it was about art. In fact, I think it was harder than most people because it's not a one opinion only subject. Art isn't an objective subject, and that makes it harder than other subjects. I hope I'm not offending anyone though. And people often misunderstand that there's more than just graphic design or painting. We do lots of cool things. Again, we do a lot of things within our degree. We don't just paint or draw or do whatever you usually associate with art. We do a lot of things, a lot of different things, like printing and sculpting and life drawing and yes, painting if you're into that. But in an art course, everyone kind of goes their own way, so we all do different things. Number 3, there's never enough storage room for your materials, so your workspace looks like it's been hit by a tornado. Yes, this is the absolute truth. Speaking from experience, this last year I had to have this other room where I kept the work that I'd already made, so I could have space in my small studio to keep doing things. I was quite privileged for having that. My university actually provided me with, well, not my university, but one of my tutors said, you know what, that room is empty, so just chuck your things in there. And I was like, okay, we need a lot of space, especially if you do sculpture or if you work with installation work and you keep everything that's trash or everything that other people think is trash. We never have enough space. And yes, we're messy because we're just trying to do things as soon as we have the idea so we don't get too tired of it. I highly identify with this one. Projects can be huge, so transporting them involves intensive manual labor, blood, sweat, and tears. Yes, it does. This is true. And you know, I work with a lot of big things that are taller than me and bigger than me. Sculptures, costumes, installations, everything of the sort. And yes, it involves a lot of manual labor, blood. It involves a lot of blood. Sweat, of course. I don't really sweat that much. My body doesn't work like that. It just doesn't produce any sweat. And tears, yes. You'll never know any artist who hasn't had their share of just crying in a dark room and crawling up like a baby because the painting didn't go as expected, or they had to chuck something that they were really passionate about but it just wasn't working, or because they don't really have any idea of what they're doing next. So if you ever want to find an artist, just follow the trail of tears. And yes, transporting them, not just making them, but also transporting them from side to side can be quite painful and a heavy job. Every cent of your tiny income is spent on supplies because even the smallest purchases cost a fortune. I'm gonna give this a true-ish. Okay. You always think of an artist as someone who paints in oil paints, and that's quite expensive, I'll give you that. But if you do work like I do, you still spend a lot of money. But as I showed in my residency, you can still make really good work from found materials and things that you don't really have to pay for, just going through trash or something that someone left behind. In my university, a lot of people don't take their things with them. They just leave them behind in the university, like scattered around. And a lot of us just pick them up, especially me. I steal a lot of things. But yeah, this can be true if you work with really expensive materials like marble or concrete or oil paint, like I said, or acrylic paint. It's not completely true because I've met a lot of great artists that do a lot of great things without spending a lot of money, because it's all in how much heart you put into it. No amount of money pays for having creativity and being proactive. Sometimes you need weird stuff for projects, so weekends are spent diving through dumpsters searching for treasures that could possibly contaminate you. I'm gonna give this a true-ish again. I do a lot of things in weekends that aren't art related because at some point you just need a break from art stuff. So I don't spend my weekends, and I've never met anyone that spends their weekends diving through dumpsters. I know we're messy, but we're not disgusting people. We don't like diving into dumpsters. Yes, sometimes we do it, but we don't spend our weekends doing it. That's just disturbing to hear and to think that someone even thinks about that. But it is true that we sometimes get things that can contaminate us. But if you think about it, for you to work with oil paint, which is something that you buy, you need to use really strong solvents that you shouldn't be inhaling. If you work with ceramics, for instance, you can inhale a lot of bad things for your health. And just working around, just working with spray paint is really bad as well. Expanding foam, just to name a few. And if you work in studios like I did in university, where you're just surrounded with people working with different things, you're gonna inhale things, bad things. But you just get used to it. Your system just gets used to it. Even the tiniest projects can take forever and are extremely tedious. So, LOL, bye sleep, nice knowing you. This is true. This is a big truth. I'm one of those people that don't like to spend a lot of time on a project. I don't know how I still have this YouTube channel running because I get tired of things really quickly. That's why everything I make has to be really quick, really on the spot. For instance, I'm applying to a lot of things right now with the work that I've made for the degree show in my university, and I just can't look at it anymore. It doesn't define me anymore. It's something I did. I've done it, it's done, let's move on to the next one. Even what I did in the residency, I just feel like moving on from that to do other things, more exciting things. I've spent a lot of sleepless nights, but not because the project was too big. Well, maybe in high school I did, but now in university I didn't really have that many sleepless nights, except for when I was so involved in a project that I couldn't sleep thinking about it. You have to work with crazy, dangerous tools that could probably chop off your fingers or kill you. This is true. Again, not for everyone, but this is true. If you work with wood or metal or ceramics, they can have some dangerous tools. I took some photos of me working with a tool thing that chops things off. I found out later that it was unprotected, and my mom happened to look at those photos and she was freaking out because it was unprotected and I could have hurt myself really bad. So yeah, you can work with really crazy, dangerous tools. But they're only dangerous if you don't know how to use them, so if you do find time to actually sleep, it's in an art studio on a bed made from random objects or chairs. I'm gonna give this one a false sticker. I don't think this is true. You get to sleep. If you're organized enough, you do get to sleep. I mean, I've never slept in an art studio on a bed made from random objects or chairs. That sounds disturbing. I've always given myself time to sleep, to relax, to do everything and still have the work ready. If you're doing a degree, don't panic. Everything is fine. It's just a degree. It's not going to define you for the rest of your life. There's always time to do things. Once someone told me we all get 24 hours and what we do with them, it's our choice. Your outfits are so destroyed from chemicals and paint, it looks like you participated in a cola run. Nope, just went to class. I'm gonna give this a true-ish. Okay. It's really easy to get your clothes dirty. I've seen these images of what people think an artist looks like and the stereotypes that we create around artists, and you don't need to have your trousers filled with paint splatter and your shirts are all ruined because they have this or that. They don't get destroyed that easily unless you really want it to happen. I don't think it destroys your clothes, only if you want to. Like, I've seen people working with paint and they just paint themselves in their clothes because it's funny and ha ha ha. But that's just a misconception that people have about art students and artists. And this, nope, I just went to class. We don't have classes. We do our thing basically all by ourselves, and then we have tutorials. There's always someone who will criticize or judge you for a public art performance because they just don't get it. This is true. I don't think people will only criticize you because of a public art performance. I think they will criticize you because in general people just don't get it. I think we come to an age where we just block everything that's not rational. And art most of the times is not rational. I'm not gonna say that everyone that just puts a blank canvas up in a museum and calls it art is an artist, but it is true that most of the times people don't get art because they don't even try to get it. I've seen a lot of conceptual artists and all of the things in that realm that give you a whole book about a stone on the floor. That's fine, that's completely fine. You can ask whatever you want from your audience, but you can't expect them to be ready to read a whole book about a stone on the floor. You need to understand what kind of audience you want to develop for your art practice and what kinds of people are looking at your art practice. And that way, you'll never get really judged because people don't get it. You can get criticized and judged, and that's how you grow, but not because people don't get it. If you know how to select your audiences and if you know what kind of work you're doing for what kinds of people. There's nothing like waking up to a 9 a.m. drawing class and having to stare at an old man's junk for 3 hours. Again, I'm gonna say this is true-ish because it's not true for everyone. In 3 years, I've never had a drawing class because my university chooses to not have classes. It's a lot of do it yourself, research for yourself, and then come to us with any questions you might have, or if you want to discuss your work, we'll gather in a tutorial or a group crit to discuss your work. But most of the work you do is by yourself. And I think more and more courses are beginning to think like that. To be honest, I complained about this a lot in my first year, but I realized after 3 years that I think it's the best option. This kind of teaching can work if you get the right people to do it. If you get people that understand your work, or if they don't understand your work, they try to, and they talk to you, and they discuss it, and they're passionate about it. Your paint water has been confused for your drinking water several times. This is true. I can't even tell you how many times I've picked up not just water, but just a cup that looks like it has water in it, and I've chugged it. That is the most disgusting thing you'll ever try in your life. Again, we don't all paint, so it's different for every person, but I think we all at some point have picked up a pencil or a pen in the wrong way and put it in our mouths, or a paintbrush. I remember this once where I was painting something and I was thinking about it, and I was stroking the paintbrush on my face, because I do that with paintbrushes, but not when they have paint on. And at some point, I pack up my things, I'm ready to leave, and someone just looks at me and they start laughing, and I'm like, I pick up my phone to pretend I'm not looking at them, you know, how you usually do. And I see in the reflection that my face is all red. But that's the story of my life, really. I've had people looking at me and laughing because I just look like a homeless person that's been sleeping on the floor all day. Critiques are intense AF, last several hours, and often go over their time limit. Again, this is true-ish. Like I said, we have group crits and tutorial crits, and they can be intense if you're with the right group of people. They can be really intense. But from my personal experience, they're quite alright. It's mostly you discussing your work, and then other people just come in with some feedback, but it's mostly like, oh yeah, I like this. Maybe you should explore this. Maybe you should explore that. But no one really gets intense. And I don't know how helpful that is, to be honest, to be intense in group crits. But I know it's good to have some intensity in your life, because I've had tutors. They just asked a lot of questions and I rethought my work, and I think that's where you grow. It's not from people telling you what you're doing is fine and okay and great, and it's from people actually questioning your work. Reviewing people's work can get strangely personal and emotional, so gets deep really fast. I'm gonna give this true-ish sticker, because this is the thing, not everyone takes their art personally. For me, if you're criticizing my artwork or the way I work or everything, that's professional. There's a barrier there. You're not criticizing me. No matter what you do, what choices you make in your life, people are going to criticize them. So there's no point in getting emotional and getting too affected by what people say about your work, your life choices, your anything. You need to be yourself, do whatever you want to do, and what other people say, you need to filter it and think about if it's worth it or not worth it. There's so much software on your computer that it's constantly crashing, overheating, and ruining your life with the spinning wheel of death. This couldn't be truer. I can't tell you how many times I've been editing these videos and everything just crashes, and I'm just left with nothing, and I'm yelling at the computer, swearing, wondering why I'm doing this to my life. And even if you're a visual artist, you'll need software in your computer like Illustrator, Premiere, or Photoshop. It can suck working with mediums you have no experience in, with classmates who mastered the skill in the womb. I'm gonna give this a true-ish,
Okay.
only because you need to mind your own business. What you know how to do is what you know how to do. You can still learn. You have your whole life to learn. What you do is what you do, and I think you should search for your niche and not be worried about how other people do things. Because again, art is not an objective subject, so there's no doing it well. Yes, there's techniques that you can master and some that you fail completely at, but because it's so subjective, who is to say what is right and wrong? Do what you know how to do and learn to do the things you don't. Don't stress about what other people are doing.
Do it! Just do it!
And the last one is, you constantly debate over whether or not to focus on craftsmanship or concept, since it's too hard to do both. I'm gonna give this a true-ish,
Okay.
because I have felt this, and I know a lot of people feel this, because again, they want to do things right. But I'm not gonna say it's too hard to focus on both craftsmanship and concept. It's possible to have both. I've seen a lot of amazing work that has both. I've seen a lot of amazing work that's just craftsmanship with no concept. I've seen a lot of work that's just concept and no craftsmanship. Again, it's such a subjective area. Just enjoy it. Just be free and create whatever you want to create.
Everything can be anything.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't filter yourself. Don't feel like you have to be a painter or a sculptor. You do whatever you want to do. And on this note, I think I'm gonna finish this video because it's gone on for too long. I hope no one gets triggered for the things I say. I'm just speaking my truth. Again, we all have different opinions about what art is, what the world is, how life should be lived, how things should be enjoyed, and that's what makes living in society fun. So if you disagree with me, go ahead and comment below what you think. I might be doing more of these videos if I get a nice response to this. I'm sorry if I was a bit condescending in the things I've said, but it's what I believe in. Without nothing else to do or say, I think I'm gonna close this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it. Please subscribe, comment down below any ideas you want to see in this channel. And as usual, be happy, keep creating, and keep your hopes up, because you never know when things might happen. Bye guys.